Gor Mahia Football Club, Kogalo Sirkal, the long-term pitch bully in the Kenyan Premier League, a team boasting of a decorated soccer career with a very solid fan base. This is the story of Gor Mahia F.C. In the early 50s, Kenya's first vice president and the then freedom fighter, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, brought to life Luo Union FC, which finished second in the first ever Kenyan National League, which was held in 1963. This team would later win the league in the 1964 competitions. The club witnessed a major split in 1966 and 1967, with one wing of the players forming Luo Sports Club and the other remaining in Luo Union. The 1966 league saw Luo Union excluded in favor of Luo Sports Club. This led to massive exit of players from Luo Union, with a good number of them opting to join Kisumu Hotstars. Following that split, the Baluya Football Club, presently AFC Leopards, dominated the league for 2 years. That is 1966 and 1967. All these were happening at a time when Jaramogi Oginga Odinga had just resigned as the country's second in command and quit the ruling KANU party. At the end of the 1967 season, Luo Union officials, including Mahalon Danga, who had played for Luo Union FC in the early 60s, Odiawo Nyandenga, and Solomon Oiro, approached the then Minister of Economic Planning, Tom Mboya, in a bid to find a way of unifying the two factions. Several meetings about the same were subsequently held in Tom Mboya's house. On February 17, 1968, an agreement was reached among the delegates of the two factions to form one unified team. A new name that would be embraced for both teams was needed, and as a result, several names were proposed in the meeting. Among the names proposed were Nile Stars, Luanda Magere, Gor Mahia, among others. The name Gor Mahia, proposed by Agre Olango, who played for Luo Sports Club, was adopted. The adopted name was that of a Luo paramount chief and a medicine man who died in 1920. He was considered as a prophet, since he could foresee and advise his community of what was set to happen in the near future. He hailed from the greater Kanyamwa in the present-day Homa Bay County. God, a name given to him when he was still young, was a name preserved for a certain animal, and then later in life he earned the name Mahia due to his unique nature, and it is said that he will turn into anything, at times an animal, insect, etc., making people believe he was a spirit. The colonial government heavily relied on him in settling land and boundary disputes, and also in the making of other chiefs to administrate over other locations. Among his legacies as a conservationist is the existence of Ruma National Park in Homa Bay. Gor Mahia the man is believed to have used magic and miraculous powers that he inherited from his grandfather Ogalo to govern and protect his people, hence the frequent use of the terms Ogalo or Kogalo Sirkal by the club's supporters when praising and asserting the strength of the team. Gor Mahia Football Club had now been born, with Tom Mboya playing the pivotal role in the formation, and that is why Kogalo's supporters, any tough match like the Mashemeji Derby between them and AFC Leopards begins and ends where Tom Mboya was shot dead along Moi Avenue in the Kenya's capital city. The supporters do this to honor and celebrate him. A friendly, or rather fundraising match, was arranged before the start of the 1968 league, with the newly formed Gor Mahia facing Express of Uganda in front of a big crowd of supporters. The game displayed after the merger of the two teams was so impressive, threatening the peace of opponents both in Kenya and the neighboring countries.
According to me, those days football was football. Yeah, those days people loved football so much, and whenever there was any football match, especially with the big teams like Gor Mahia and F.C. Leopards, you would find the stadium full to capacity. And what made football even more healthier was also the fans. The fans were very happy with their teams, and they really gave their full support, and it was a very big fun to play those days.
The merger had created one very strong team that later in the year won the National League at its first attempt, qualifying the 1969 Africa Champions Cup. This was their first ever time competing in a continental event. They lost it in the quarterfinals of this competition after a 2-4 defeat against Ismailia of Egypt, something that was viewed as an effect of Tomboya's death on the players at that time. He was so much loved by all, and his sudden assassination was deeply mourned. Ismailia went on to win the Africa Champions Cup that year. In 1976, Gor Mahia won the National League unbeaten. In 1982, the then Kenyan President Daniel Moi ordered the disbandment of all tribal associations. Gor Mahia were not left behind. They were under pressure to change the name. Their arch-rivals, Abaluya FC, changed their name to Old Footballers Club Leopard, aka AFC Leopard. Gor Mahia club officials had settled on changing the name to Gulf Olympic Rangers. This was not received well with the fans though. And when President Moi later ruled that the teams named after legendary heroes were not tribalistic, Gor Mahia maintained its name, and this was received with much celebrations from the fans.
Gor Mahia, having been one of the earliest clubs in Kenya, and they had a very big fan base, and even during our times, that fan base was still there. And even that time when we played, the stadiums were full even to capacity, even during morning hours. Yes, by 10 o'clock the stadiums would be full. Yes, awaiting a match to be played maybe at around 4:30. So I would say that with Gor Mahia and FC Leopards, it was a culture that was started long time ago. The love of football was in them, and therefore they have continued to maintain it to date.
In 1983, Gor Mahia played a friendly match and won 4-2 against British Premier League side, Norwich City.
Although at that time we only played football as a hobby, but it was great playing at that time. Yes, because we were not paid any money. We were only given allowances, but we had football inside our heart, and therefore when we played, we went out and played to the full. Yes, unlike nowadays, I think the players nowadays don't give themselves 100%. I think because when sometimes there are frustrations with payments, salary payments and whatever, because nowadays they are given salaries, and therefore when sometimes the money is not there, you find that things don't go right, and also the standard of the game also declines. Those days players were working at other places, and it was only after work that you would meet and go for training.
1984 saw the first major international club tournament held at the newly constructed Nyayo Stadium. Prior to that, Gor Mahia had been training in Nyahururu, where locals stand up in large numbers to watch them train.
Those days, whenever we had a match in hand to play, we went to camp like is done nowadays. But those days, I think we would go depending on the kind of match that we are going to play. If you are going to play a very big, tough team, then we'd go for something like 2 weeks in camp. Yes, within those 2 weeks, we were prepared and ready to face whichever team that we were playing. But if it were international matches, then we would go for at least 1 month.
In this year's Sekafa Cup, which was held in Kenya, Gor Mahia were in Group A in Nairobi, while AFC Leopards were in Group B in Mombasa. Gor Mahia faced Zamalek of Egypt in the second round. The first leg was played in Cairo, Egypt, in Nasser Stadium, which was full of 100,000 Egyptian fans. 40 minutes into the game, Abbas Magungu attempted to tackle an Egyptian player a few yards outside the penalty box. The player took a tumble and rolled into the penalty box. The referee, who was from Sudan, suddenly awarded Zamalek a penalty kick. After Zamalek had scored the goal, the referee gave Abbas Magungu his marching orders, what we call today a red card. Gor Mahia players confronted the referee, who ran into Zamalek's side and got surrounded by the Zamalek players. He then claimed to have broken his arm in the melee and called off the match immediately. Gor Mahia were disqualified from the tournament and suspended for 2 years, with 6 of its players along with coach Julians banned from international soccer for 2 years. The referee along with CAF had clearly been compromised by Zamalek. Gor Mahia, however, secured the Kenya National League season title. In 1985, Zamalek visited Nairobi and held a joint training session with Gor Mahia as a gesture of friendship. Zamalek later admitted that Gor Mahia were the toughest team they faced in Cairo. 1987 was Kogalo's most successful year. They won 3 big competitions, namely the National League, the Moi Golden Cup, and the Africa Cup Winners' Cup, which had just been named the Nelson Mandela Cup. This season saw Kogalo deep and experienced in all departments, with stiff competition among players for starting positions. In goal, the team had David Ochieng and Tyrus Omondi, both of whom had played for the national team. Defense had Osaya Omondi, aka Janabi, Otieno Solo, Otieno Basanga, Bobby Ogola, Jafar Mwidao, and Captain Austin Odwor, aka Makamu. The midfield feature Abbas Magungu, Charles Otieno, Okelo Zange, Onyango Fundi, Ochieng Pierre, and Odembo Nyangi. Artillery. The attack had Anthony Ndolo, Sami Onyango, Ben Olo Breakdance, and Peter Dao. With this squad, Gor Mahia had made history as the first and so far the only club from East Africa to win a Continental Cup.
Mandela Cup was actually one of the big championships in Africa at that time, and actually we had tried before, and our teams had tried before, but we never made it to that level. But this other time, in 1987, we played Mandela Cup and won the cup. It is a very tough battle, I would say, because you would start from the preliminaries and go all the way to the final. And you also visit many, many countries as you march on towards the final. For you to win that Mandela Cup, it is not an easy thing. Yeah, it is not an easy task. Yeah, it was a battle of wits.
The competitions were a do-or-die thing for all the teams during their times, and as a result, in Egypt and most Arab countries, According to legends, the fans in the hotel rooms were oftenly sprayed, making the players of the visiting teams very weak the following morning, in most cases, on the match day.
I think it was a renaissance of football in this part of Africa, and you will find that some people believed in juju, yeah, and they could not imagine playing football without applying juju in it, and therefore they came up with many different things that they wanted players to do, or yeah, but not all players agreed to do those kind of things. Some of us refused and did not want to participate whenever were called upon to act to do those kind of things. But I can remember they were there. Yes, they were there, and they were very funny things. Sometimes you were given things to eat which you did not understand what they were, and they looked very funny. Or they would even come and wash your legs with some funny things which you could not even understand. Those things were there then days.
The legends vividly remembered that one point in Ghana, the stadium was fully occupied with security. No jogging, no training was allowed on the field before the match. Gor Mahia won the Kenya National Football League 4 times in the 90s. That was in 1990, 91, 93 and 1995. 2002 was the worst year for Kogalo. They finished the season with a record of 3 wins, 4 draws, 12 losses and a goal difference of minus 20 goals. For the first time in their history, Gor Mahia was relegated from the top 5. The league had been divided into 2 groups. They finished at the bottom of Group B, behind other relegated teams like Pan Paper and Mombasa Heroes. They, however, received a reprieve from the KFF. Despite the ups and downs, Gor Mahia has decorated a career having won the Kenyan Premier League a record 21 times, FKF President's Cup a record 11 times, and being the only East African team so far to have won Continental Cup, the African Cup Winners' Cup. Gor Mahia boasts of a good number of legends since its inception to date. Omondi Janabi shares with me that during their time, many people believed that the first half was a bit soft and therefore an opponent would easily get to score since it was God playing, and that the second half was much tougher for the opponents since it was Mahia the Spirit who was in control. When Mahia took the center stage, it was now not business as usual, and that was the belief of a majority of the supporters. One thing that should be put in light, however, is that the Kenya's economy has affected many sectors, leading to financial difficulties for several clubs in Kenya. This has even made it more difficult for community teams to attract the best players. But even before that, the norm had been that in Kenya, when you play well, people including the government will clap for you, but you get no financial benefits in the end as compared to other countries where talents are valued.
As I make comparisons, I find that we are still wanting in many areas as far as our stadiums and playing pitches are concerned. Yeah, I think also that the management in football, especially the Kenya Football Federation, as it used to be known, they never took it as a matter of interest to make sure that they put up big stadiums. It could have been maybe for lack of money, but you realize that as we went playing outside the country, we saw many other poorer countries having very good stadium and playing fields than our country Kenya, which was, we thought, better financial wise. So I think it is just about management from the Ministry of Sports and also the Kenya Football Federation. Yeah, they really have to do something about it to make to put Kenya where it is supposed to be in terms of stadiums. What I can only tell the management of football in Kenya is that they should put their house in order so that they make football what it really is. There are many areas where they are still lacking, and especially in the players' welfare, and also players' welfare after football. Yes, we have seen many players who used to do wonderful pieces for Kenya. When they retire from football, you can really sympathize with them. So this is one area that the football management in Kenya should look into. I think the management of football in Kenya, the one thing that they have not come to look into very much is the standard of the pitches where football is played. Yes, you'd find that even when we have national occasions like Madaraka or whatever, these big days, the army or the police would march into the pitches and make it unplayable. Yes, and therefore it has been happening every other time, and I think they are the ones who have even spoiled the pitches to the state that they are nowadays. That is why even when FIFA had come here to check on the standard, they found that it was very wanting. My message to the government on that is that sports has become like an employer nowadays, and currently our country is in need of employment opportunities for young people, and if they were to put money in sports, then they will at least cut down on unemployment in Kenya.
A message to the young people who are very much interested in playing football.
I always encourage them to love football even more, and once you engage yourself in football, don't also forget about your schooling. At least make sure that you do your bit in schooling, so that at the end of it you also have something in school, so that you don't just think football and eat football, but also have something to take you other places. Because in football, you only play football for a limited period of time in your life. But after football, you will want something to engage into. And if you have other skills that you got from schooling, that will be of a big help to you. To our fans, I think the message is that they should continue giving full support to the team, because they should realize that these players really need and count on their support whenever they are playing. And I would also call upon them not to be abusive to the players. Some of them shout abusive words to the players in the field, and that is not a good thing to do.
Ogalo Serikal Chor Time.